Welcome back to Building Mindset Solution. Now, as educators, because we live in post-COVID times when online classes of what we call virtual classes has become the norm, how can educators help students to address their prolonged feeling of, burnout and mental exhaustion? Because that comes out many times. How can how can we encourage students to speak up in virtual classes? As so many of us have experienced, it is easy to fly under the radar and lose your voice in those synchronous online settings. Since many classrooms are back online and nobody is talking and you just find yourself in a monologue. And there's no question that virtual meetings have made workplace communication very easy. Not only are virtual meetings easier to arrange and attend, just count how many more Zoom meetings you have had compared to live meetings you used to have then. But features like Q&A, breakout rooms, reaction icons, virtual whiteboards, and a range of applications have made it easier than ever to ask questions and request ideas from meeting attendees. Now, the challenge is most of the educators either are not trained or they do not even use those apps. And therefore, the class becomes, or rather, the meeting becomes boring, and that burnout starts building by the 10th minute. Now, but you see, proposing a questions and receiving meaningful answers are two different things, which brings up an age, what you call old question with a modern twist. How do you ask for ideas or feedback during a virtual meeting in a way that returns or rather gives variable answers and not just from usual extroverts? Because you want to make sure that the introverts are also communicating. Now, based on experience leading meetings, working with meeting leaders and exploring ways to improve virtual meetings effectiveness, there are at least a few tactics to get responses from even the most mute happy meeting members, but I would just want to share a few of them, at least two of them today. Number one, share your questions ahead of time. If you are asking people for insight, if you are the chair of the meeting and you just arrived in the meeting with the agenda, you did not share the agenda, and you expect responses, immediate responses from persons or attendees or delegates that you cannot physically see. Now, if you're asking for that insight, it's only fair to give them as much time as possible to think about the problem at hand. Now, if once you've established who are attending the meeting, email them up. Email them up. Send the questions you're asking. Place those questions in the meeting agenda. And the calendar listing to everyone to enable everyone knows what is coming up so that they will be prepared as they attend that meeting. You see, prepared students are far more likely to participate in class. Instead of just lecturing, online sessions allow the students to engage with course material ahead of time so they can come to class ready to share what they have already learned. They are armed with questions they know you will ask. This pre-work can ensure that your live sessions are more and they will be very well and they are going to be lively. Number two, establish rules that encourage participation. Now, what do I mean? It's easy, for an idea elicitation session to to just veer off course when people start confusing development ideas and debating them. And many will be reluctant to raise their virtual hand if they think their idea may be shot down. So be clear about the purpose of the session with a statement perhaps like, uh, the purpose of this meeting is only to collect ideas and build upon them if we can. In the next meeting, we will have an opportunity to assess them and pick our favorites. You see, that alone, it will help maintain speaking times balance, communicate the parameters, like we are only here for an hour. Prepare them in advance. And if you say an hour, let it not be 1 hour and 15 minutes. So please keep your contributions brief to give everyone ample time to speak. You see, such statements will make the extrovert, be careful and be cautious. And such statements will allow the introvert also to speak. Also, keep things moving by recommending that, that long-running conversation will be continued offline. When there is a conversation that you feel it might run and take time, keep reminding them that that one can be done offline. So finally, ask people to turn on their cameras if they feel comfortable doing so. Cameras usage in a virtual meeting should be a rare, opt-out, not just an opt-in, because being seen increases the likelihood of participation. How many times have we had meetings or even classes, and you find out later that someone left their camera on without their knowledge and they are busy doing other chores? Now, it's not allowed to us because no one gets into sit in the meeting if they were not prepared for it. So how can educators help students address this prolonged feeling of burnout and mental exhaustion? Normalize giving students the opportunity to talk more than the educator. You may be feeling, a certain way, but you are going to have to put that aside because it is their meeting. It is their meeting. I suggest not just getting stuck on what you think you know, but allowing class participation will always elicit a discussion. Will always elicit a discussion. Don't shut down those students who were earlier disengaged and now they are coming to get engaged. How do you motivate students to take advantage of the opportunity you create for them to speak about their feeling? How do you motivate them? How do you ensure to them that at least they will feel their voice was heard? We often think that things like check-ins and reflections take much too time, but they are actually very helpful sometimes, way to allow students to get the conversation they are having in their heads out. Now, to get a students' emotions on a given day, a colleague of mine uses a picture of a battery that is, color coded, and asks students to choose the color that represent how exhausted or energetic they feel in that moment. Now, that's a fun way to check how students might be feeling. Another way, students can get could get a story. And when you have all these, sometimes it will make those disconnected students to look for a reason to be connected. Now, what changes have you made in your teaching to ensure that your students feel connected to your course material? Are there changes you've done that? Or are they still bored, and when you start, they know it is monologue and nothing will change? How can we as educators and people who calls for meeting today create more supportive and authentic learning environments? so that the attendees of meetings will not get tired, will not develop an attitude before even the meeting starts. That supportive environment, that environment that allows every idea to be aired out, is what most of the students dread, and they would love it if they would be able to know that I am supported and this environment is good for me to learn, and my point and my responses are taken seriously. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.